Hare Krishna, dear devotees, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Śrī Uddhava Prabhupada. Welcome to this morning Srimad Bhagavatam class, which is from Canto 3, the status quo, Chapter 2, Remembrance of Lord Krishna. And this morning we're doing text 7. We're fortunate to have His Grace Jiva Prabhu from ISKCON, DC, to give the class. Hare Krishna Prabhu, please accept our humble obeisances. All glories to Śrī Uddhava.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu, Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Please accept my humble obeisances. Please join us for Jai Radha Madhav prayers. Can you hear me, Prabhu?
Yes, we can hear you very clearly.
Thank you. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari
Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari
Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaridhari
Jaya Gopi Janava Givadadari
Yashodanandana Brajana Ranjana
Yashodanandana Vrajajana
Yashodanandana
Ranjana
Yamuna Tira Vanachari
Yamuna Tira Vanachari
Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Krishna
Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare,
Hare
Hare Rama, Hare Rama,
Rama
Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare
Hare Krishna,
Hare
Hare Krishna,
Krishna,
Krishna Krishna,
Hare
Hare Hare,
Hare
Hare Rama,
Hare
Hare Rama,
Rama,
Rama Rama,
Hare
Hare Hare.
Jai Radha Madhava Radha Madhava Shri Radhe Jaya
Jaya Radha Madan Mohan Radha Madan Mohan Radha Madan Mohan Sri Radhe
Radha Govinda Shri Radhe Jaya
Jaya Radha Govinda Radha Govinda Radha Govinda Sri Radhe
Jaya Radha Gopinath Radha Gopinath Radha Gopinath Shri Radhe Jaya
Jaya Radha Gopinath
Radha
Radha Gopinath Radha
Shri
Gopinath Sri Radhe
Jaya Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Shri Radhe, Jaya
Jaya Radhe
Jaya
Jaya
Radhe,
Radhe Jaya Radhe
Jaya Shri
Jaya Sri Radhe
Jaya Kara Nitai, Jaya Kara Nitai, Jaya Gauranitai Jaya Gauranitai Jaya
Jaya Gauranitai,
Gauranitai
Gauranitai, Jaya Gauranitai.
Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Nitai Gaur Hari Bol Nitai
Jai
Gaur
Gaura Haribo,
Hari
Haribo, Haribo, Haribo.
Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Jaya
Jaya Jaya Prabhupada,
Prabhupada
Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada.
जय ओम विश्वपाद परिवाराध्यक्ष श्रोत शिष्य शिला इसी भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी शिला प्रभुपाद की जय
Jai,
जय ओम विश्वपाद परिवाराध्यक्ष श्रोत शिष्य शिला भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती गोस्वामी महाराज प्रभुपाद की जय
Jai.
अनंत कोटि वैष्णव विंद की जय नामाचार्य शिला दास ठाकुर की जय प्रेम से कहो जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद की जय श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपी गोश्याम कुंद राधा कुंड गिरि गोवर्धन की जय अयोध्या धाम वृंदावन धाम की जय नवदीप मायापुर धाम की जय जगन्नाथपुरी धाम की जय गंगा मैया नमई की जय भक्ति देवी तुलसी महारानी की जय अनंत कोटि वैष्णव विंद की जय समेत भक्ति विंद की जय श्री श्री वैष्णवाचार्य विंद की जय श्री श्री राधा श्याम सुंदर की जय श्री श्री राधा मधु की जय श्री जगन्नाथ सुभद्रा बलदेव की जय श्री श्री लक्ष्मी नारायण की जय श्री श्री लक्ष्मी नरसिंह देव की जय श्री श्री गणताय की जय ब्रह्मनगर डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन की जय संकीर्तन महायज्ञ की जय ग्रंथराज श्रीमद भागवतम की जय निताय गो प्रेमानंदे हरि
Hari
हरि
Hari Bo.
ओम तत्सत हरे कृष्ण Hare Krishna. Dear devotees, Hare Krishna for the opportunity. Hare Krishna. Parikshit Prabhu, you are such a pure soul for giving us the
Oh my
opportunity to
goodness.
speak on this platform.
Not me. Hare Krishna. It's okay.
Hare
Hare
Krishna. Dear devotees, please join us for the invocation prayers. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirye Shavatam Swakatha Krishna Punya Shamana Kirtanaha Hridayantastho Hya Bhadrani Vidhunoti Suhatsatam नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवते सेवया भगवतेरुत्तम श्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी. Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Today we are covering Srimad Bhagavatam, third canto, chapter 2, verse 7. And this is where Uddhav is responding to all the questions that Vidura had asked in the previous chapter, 3.1. Hare Krishna, please join us for the translation as well as invocation, translation, and purport. Uddhav uvāca kṛṣṇa-dyumaṇi nimloce gīrṇeṣv ajagareṇa kim nu nah kuśalaṁ brūyāṁ kuśalaṁ brūyāṁ gata-śrīṣu gṛheṣv aham Uddhava uvāca kṛṣṇa-dyumaṇi nimloce gīrṇeṣv ajagareṇa kim nu nah kuśalaṁ brūyāṁ gata-śrīṣu gṛheṣv aham Uddhava uvāca kṛṣṇa-dyumaṇi nimloce gṛheṣv ajagareṇa kim nu nah kuśalaṁ brūyāṁ gata-śrīṣu gṛheṣv aham. Anyone?
Uvaca kṛṣṇa-dyumaṇi nimloce gīrṇeṣv ajagareṇa Kimununa kuśalaṁ brūyāṁ gata-śrīṣu gṛheṣv. Hare Krishna.
उद्धव उवाच कृष्णाद्युमनि nimloce gṛheṣv ajagareṇa किं नु हा कुशलं brūyāṁ gata-śrīṣu gṛheṣvaham. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Uddhava uvāca kṛṣṇa-dyumaṇi nimloce gṛheṣv ajagareṇa किं नु नः कुशलं brūyāṁ gata-śrīṣu gṛheṣv aham. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Uddhava uvāca kṛṣṇa-dyumaṇi nimloce gṛheṣv ajagareṇa किं नु न कुशलं brūyāṁ gata-śrīṣu gṛheṣv. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So if you can proceed to the synonyms and translation purport. Uddhava uvāca, Śrī Uddhava said, kṛṣṇa-dyumaṇi, the Krishna son, nimloce, having said, gīrṇeṣv, being swallowed, ajagareṇa, by the great snake, her, in the past, kim, what, nu, else, naha, our, kuśalaṁ, welfare, brūyāṁ, may I say, gata-śrīṣu, with good fortune gone away, gṛheṣv, in the house, aham, I. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, Sri Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Śrī Uddhava said, my dear Vidura, the sun of the world, Lord Krishna has set, and our house has now been swallowed by the great snake of time. What can I say to you about our welfare? Purport. The disappearance of Krishna, of the Krishna sun, may be explained as follows. According to the commentary of Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, Vidura was, according to the commentary of Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, Vidura was struck with great sorrow when he got the hint of the annihilation of the great Yadu dynasty, as well as of his own family, the Kuru dynasty. Uddhava could understand the grief of Vidura, and therefore he first of all wanted to sympathize with him by saying that after the sunset, everyone is in darkness. Since the entire world was merged in the darkness of grief, neither Vidura nor Uddhava nor anyone else could be happy. Uddhava was as much aggrieved as Vidura, and there was nothing further to be said about their welfare. The comparison of Krishna to the sun is very appropriate. As soon as the sun sets, darkness automatically appears. But the darkness experienced by the common man does not affect the sun itself, either at the time of sunrise or of sunset. Lord Krishna's appearance and disappearance are exactly like that of the sun. He appears and disappears in innumerable universes, and as long as he is present in the present universe, there is all transcendental light in that universe, but the universe from which he passes away is put into darkness. His pastimes, however, was everlasting. The Lord is always present in some universe, just as the sun is present in either the eastern or the western hemisphere. The sun is always present either in India or in America, but when the sun is present in India, the American land is in darkness, and when the sun is present in America, the Indian hemisphere is in darkness. As the sun appears in the morning and gradually rises to the meridian and then again sets in one hemisphere while simultaneously rising in the other, so Lord Krishna's disappearance in one universe and the beginning of his different pastimes in another takes place simultaneously. As soon as one pastime is finished here, it is manifested in another universe. And thus his Nitya Leela or eternal pastimes are going on without ending. As the sunrise takes place once in 24 hours, Similarly, the pastimes of Lord Krishna take place in the universe once in a daytime of Brahma, the account of which is given in the Bhagavad Gita as 4.3 billion solar years. But wherever the Lord is present, all his different pastimes, as described in the revealed scriptures, take place at regular intervals. As at sunset, the snakes become powerful, thieves are encouraged, ghosts become active, the lotus becomes disfigured, and the Chakravaki laments. So, with the disappearance of Lord Krishna, the atheists feel enlivened and the devotees become sorry. Hare Krishna, please join us for Srila Prabhupada Pranati to seek blessings. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gaurvani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashatya Deshitarine Om Ajnana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Mukam karoti vachalam pangum langhayate girim yat kripa tadaham vande Shri Gurum dina taranam. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Thank you,
Hare.
Prabhu. You may unshare. So here we saw in this particular chapter earlier, there was some silence, right? And that silence, before giving response to Vidura, Uddhava had a silence. That silence, as Srila Prabhupada reveals in the purport, as has been further elaborated by Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, gave Vidura a hint. So that hint and the moment of anticipation make that curiosity in the heart grow with compassion, with so many feelings, right? So here, dear devotees, Uddhava has described various analogies in the response. And we can directly dive into the one where let's look at the time he's expressing that the sun has set. What happens then? So when just close your eyes, imagine entering a house after the sunset. And guess what has happened? It's dark pitch outside because there is no sun. And also there is a power outage in the house. Right? So how many of you have experienced power outage when it's nighttime? Raise your hand. Just curious to know who all may have experienced. Yes, we have, and many of you may have already. And what happens? Instantly, I remember in India, when there was a power outage, suddenly outside, everyone was like, there was a big noise. Some people were rejoicing and some people were lamenting. And the first thing people do is when there is a power outage, the house is in darkness, and they immediately go to the windows and doors to see, is only my house is in darkness or is everyone's house is in darkness? So if everyone's house is in darkness, then okay, everyone is in darkness, let me arrange. If my house is the only house is in darkness and everyone's house is lit, then there is some anxiety. What has happened? What has caused this? Right? And when you have this power outage, the furniture is still there, the people are still there, the expensive appliances are still there, even the photographs are still on the walls, the family members are still there in the house, and if there are some guests, they are also there. So the residents are still there. And yet, because there is no light, there is no electricity, there is no way of seeing where everything is, people they begin stumbling over things. Various objects. Sometimes you hit a stool, sometimes you hit a chair, sometimes you don't know where the door is and you hit the wall. And these are the various things which are meant to bring comfort to the life, but they become obstacle and the cause of pain. That's what happens. So nothing has necessarily disappeared, but without light, we cannot see anything in proper relationship. And that is what is important. And that's where the significance of just before the sunrise, we have this Surya Bhas, right? So there's some glow. And similarly, night doesn't just come on its own. There is just time, and slowly, the sun has gone, and after that, the light completely disappears and the darkness prevails. And as given in the last paragraph, what happens during darkness? Ajagareṇa. So that has been referred in the verse like the snake of time. But we also see that the rogues become active, the snakes become active. The snakes reflect envy. That's one of the quality they have. And so this experience is described by Uddhava in deep voice. He's not just describing as an entertainment. No, he's not just passing an information. He's sharing his heart. And that is the importance in today's verse, because Uddhava has started responding. And even though we may be in magnificent houses of, similar to the Yadu dynasty, means they had magnificent houses. They still existed at that time after Krishna departed. Their wealth, their fame, their family history, and their royal position, it had always been very extraordinary when Lord Krishna was there. But what is Uddhava saying? That Śrī, right? We also can see from this perspective, as Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur describes, she refers to goddess of fortune. She is very eager to serve her Lord, Lord Vishnu. And Vishnu is an expansion of Krishna. Sometimes from Indian background, people think Krishna is an expansion of Vishnu. Yes, both are correct. He's Avatari and he's Avatar. So here, their beauty, their prosperity, the auspiciousness and good fortune of the Yadu dynasty. What is Uddhava expressing? That it has all departed with Lord Krishna. And why? Because Lord Krishna was no longer visible to them. And that is the important aspect. And this verse is asking us also a very deeply relatable question. Now, what that question is? What's the value of a house when the light that gave meaning to the house is gone? Right? A house may have electricity, but still be spiritually dark. We have all seen this happening in this material world. A family may have wealth, but no longer higher purpose. Everyone is just in lust, running after things. A temple may have programs, but lost remembrance of Krishna. A devotee may wear devotional clothing, right? We know many verses and perform many exercises. So, yet at the same time, if we don't have devotion, what's the value? My dear devotees, it's very interesting that sometimes when we go to Vrindavan, we sometimes observe others who are visiting Vrindavan. And if you are a new devotee, just got into devotional service, and you go to Vrindavan, what's the first place you're going to go? Loi Bazaar. Everyone's thinking, let me go to Loi Bazaar, get nice dhotis and nice kurtas and nice, tulsi beads to decorate myself. What about the lordships? So what is the purpose of going to Vrindavan if you are not associating with the devotees? It becomes, as Bhagavatam describes, place for crows, a pilgrimage for crows. If you're not really interacting with devotees, going to a holy place only to take bath, only to, just focus on materialistic things, while those who are even not at the sites, they're constantly engaged in devotional service, they are more glorious because their heart is filled with Krishna, their heart is filled with Vrindavan, their heart is filled with Lord's pastimes. Yet here, Uddhava is expressing this darkness. And today, my dear devotees, we'll be looking at this message, and we can remember it to the acronym SUN, S-U-N, SUN. where we'll use S to understand how to see Krishna as the spiritual sun. Krishna gives vision, meaning, beauty, and auspiciousness to our life, our home, our relationships, and our service, our activities. And we have to understand his transcendental sunset. That is also very important. Krishna's disappearance does not mean that he has ceased to exist. Like the sun, he passes beyond our limited vision. And while his eternal pastime is continuing in other universes, we may be feeling that we are in darkness because the sun is not visible anymore. And how do you navigate in such night? And it's for navigating the night through the holy name and his remembrance, name, form, activities, pastimes of Lord Shri Krishna. So, yes, time factor is there, and time may remove external conditions, but it cannot destroy sincere devotional service. That's the important message, my dear devotees. Krishna Katha, the Lord's presence in his holy name, is there. So again, the moment of today's discussion is simple. What is it? See the sun, understand the sunset, and navigate the night. Hare Krishna. So, how do we see the sun? In this particular verse, previously Vidura had asked simple questions. What was he asking? How is everyone? He met Uddhava and began asking about the relatives. And such questions are natural when two old friends meet. Now, even here, sometimes it's very important to relate to Uddhav's journey. The Maushala Leela, the departing pastime of the Yadu dynasty, it had happened when Uddhav and Vidur met. But prior to that, Uddhav had already received the instruction from Lord Krishna. The 11th canto, that is known as Uddhav Gita, actually was the message Lord Krishna imparted to Uddhav in Dwarka, much before Maushala Leela. And Uddhav was given this message to take to Narayan Rishi and Badrika Ashram. So Uddhav started walking to Badrika Ashram. But sometimes, when someone is very dear to you, you have the tendency of coming back, which has happened many times when we have some very dear friends who visit us. How many of you have some great friends, very close friends, sometimes very old friends whom you may not have seen after a long time, and suddenly you see them, they have visited you? Raise your hand if you have such friends you may have had such experience. Thank you. So we all have those experiences that sometimes we have very nice friends who are visiting us. What happens? We may spend an hour or two inside the house discussing the old times, remembering the old times. And then we come to the gate as we are seeing them off. And sometimes we are at the gate half an hour discussing, maybe an hour discussing, just that departure becomes so difficult, right? It seems like we just don't want to let them go, but we have to let them go. And that is how Uddhav was. He followed Lord Krishna's instructions. Yes, I have to take this message. Yet he felt that separation, anxiety, the mood of a devotee in constant love with Krishna. And Uddhav, he was a very dear devotee of Krishna. So Uddhav felt so much anxiety, the separation anxiety, vipralamba bhav, as is known. So this is what caused him to come back. And at Prabhashit, he saw Krishna. And Krishna is like, hey, what are you doing here? I asked you to go to Badrika Ashram. And Uddhav is expressing, my dear Lord, I just needed to see you one last time. And he is indirectly making a play that, why don't you just send someone else and take me with you? You're about to wrap up your pastime here. Krishna at that time further gives him instruction. And this is the time that Maitreya Muni, happened to come there by chance, by providence. But nothing happens by chance. Everything happens by Lord's will. So again, not a leaf moves without Lord's will. So this is what is happening, that matrimony is there, which is paving the path forward, because whatever has been imparted to Uddhav is part of Uddhav Gita in 11th canto. But whatever is imparted to Uddhav and matrimony at Prabhashita before Lord wraps up his pastime and so-called sunset appears, he has imparted that message that would be following right after this pastime of Vidura and Uddhav meeting. Now, my dear devotees, we all understand the aspect of sun, right? And what were the questions that when two friends meet, that they ask, how's everyone? How are our old friends? How are your elders? Of course, we also want to be personal in our response. How are the children? And what has happened in your life since we last met? So these are the common questions. Yet at the same time, devotees bring it all the way around to the center point, right? They may go around the bush asking about everyone, but they're all asking of everyone in relationship to the center. And that's what Vidura is asking. How is Krishna? How is my dear Lord, who's appearing to be my nephew, but how is he? He knows that Krishna is none other than the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Now, when we are asking, sometimes we think like, okay, two simple personalities are discussing. Let's take a step back and understand who these personalities are. Vidura is none other than Yamraj, right? The son of the sun god, Vivaswan. So he got cursed, and so he appeared as a Dasiputra, but his position of a Mahajana is not yet lost. Who is Uddhav? Uddhav is a very dear devotee of the Lord. And in Brihad Bhagavatamrita, if you get this opportunity to read, you come to know that right after the gopis, the devotees talk about Uddhav. That's his position, very exalted position. And he was one of the Vasus in the day of yore when Lord Brahma was praying to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And at that time, this Vasu, we talk about the 8 Vasus, and Bhishma Pitama is one of the Vasus, yes. And Uddhav is also one of the Vasus. And he prays that, my dear Lord, please give me your personal service. And he prayed with such pure heart, with such pure anxiety that he received that service. So my dear devotees, when we have Adhetaki apratihata, yatma suprasiddhati, how do we carry out that devotional service? Without any personal motivation and without any interruption, regularly. Then it fully satisfies the heart, because in the heart resides Krishna, and he, as Paramatma, becomes satisfied. And he grants those wishes. So yes, Vidur did not know yet that the Yadu dynasty had also, disappeared again. And Lord Krishna had withdrawn his visible earthly pastimes. And what is Uddhav carrying within his heart? This unbearable weight of separation. In his Vipralamba Bhav, first time Vidura is experiencing what the gopis, when he visited them, taking Lord Krishna's message, were experiencing. My dear devotees, this is a very important, very emotional time for Uddhav, when all these questions have suddenly been asked of him. Right? So when Uddhav was asked about Krishna, he could not immediately reply. Why couldn't he immediately reply? Because that question itself awakened such intense remembrance that the word stopped. Now, this is very important, because Uddhav's silence was not ignorance. It's not like the teacher is asking, which direction does the sun rise? And the student gets up wondering and completely silent. No, it's not that ignorance. Sometimes the student doesn't know, so they are silent. But this is not ignorance. In the case of Uddhav, he had just too much realization. He had just too many emotions arising as waves hitting him in his heart that he could not answer casually to the question. And sometimes when we speak quickly about subjects we know only superficially. But when something has deeply entered the heart, the words may hesitate to come out of our mouth. We may stumble over those words. And as we remember this pastime, how Uddhava is feeling, it's very easy to describe an acquaintance, a friend or colleague. But when a mother is asked to describe a child she has just lost, then suddenly the language becomes inadequate because of the emotions in the heart. And think about a disciple who's about to speak about a deeply beloved spiritual master who has just departed to his further journey in Krishna's consciousness. We see that the answer may begin with a long silence, as in the case of Uddhava. And Uddhava just did not give information to Vidura. He gave him his heart. That is something we have to understand. And sometimes people may question what is going on? Why is he becoming so overwhelmed? So we have to understand Uddhav's relationship with Krishna. So it was not a sentimentalism, it was not a temporary emotional attachment. In Bhagavatam, it is described that Uddhav, when he was just 5 years old, this is the second verse of this very chapter, his mother would call him to have breakfast, to have lunch, any time it was time to eat. Uddhav would not want to go. Do you think Uddhav was busy with his video game and he was right in the middle of achieving the next level when his mother was asking? No. We see today's kids miss again, Mom, let me just finish this level and then I'll come and have breakfast or I'll have my lunch. No, it was not like that. Was it because he was outside playing with other kids and those kids were saying, hey, if you live in the middle of the game, we'll not invite you again? Which actually happened to Krishna. When Mother Yashoda was calling him, saying, Krishna, come, Nand Baba has not eaten. So Krishna and Balaram immediately stopped, Nand Baba has not eaten, let's go. They were not so much worried about they have not eaten. They were more worried about their father who is waiting for them. And then the friend said, oh, Krishna, Balaram, if you leave at this time, we will not let you play. But Uddhav's saying no to his mother or not responding to his mother or ignoring his mother's request was not even based on his friends asking him to play and when the mother is calling him. So that was not his mood. What was he doing? He dressed Krishna. He worshipped Krishna. He centered his childhood around Krishna. So that is the relevance. Even at 5 years old age, many children, they don't want to leave their toys to eat breakfast. They don't want to leave their video games to eat breakfast. But Uddhav also did not want to leave his play, but his play was devotional service, my dear devotees. We have to understand, it was not a material activity. This gives us a gentle, relatable picture of what relationship Uddhav has. So much so that he would accept Krishna's clothes, his garland, as Mahaprasad, right? As a great offering, and he would dress himself with what he had received from Krishna. In today's time, sometimes we say, oh, this is a nice cloth, I can pass it to my younger brother. The younger brother says, no, brother, you have to give me new clothes. I don't want to wear. So that happens because the younger brother is feeling, why should I be wearing something he has already worn? Not realizing that there is emotion attached to that piece of cloth. So this kind of things do happen because of the material consciousness overwhelming everyone. Not realizing that the person is passing on something not as as a remnant, as a worn out thing, but as piece of love. That's something they really love to wear and they would like to wear it, but then they are saying it will look better on my brother. It will give the potency that I have achieved to this time earlier. And that's why Srila Prabhupada's disciples, they preserve things that Srila Prabhupada gave them. Now, when we talk about this, there are so many things. Once there was a disciple, he thought Srila Prabhupada was carrying a small suitcase. And he thought, you know what? I'll give Srila Prabhupada a brand new suitcase, a bigger one, so that he can carry his things in there. And that way I will get his suitcase. Sometimes devotees think that they're very smart, right? And they can trick even the spiritual master. So this devotee, he bought a very nice big suitcase for Srila Prabhupada. He gave that suitcase to Srila Prabhupada, and hoping that Srila Prabhupada would transfer all his diaries and clothes into this new suitcase and give the old suitcase to him. Srila Prabhupada opened the new suitcase, put the small suitcase in it, and closed the suitcase. He said, yes, very nice. Srila Prabhupada immediately understood what this devotee was thinking, this disciple of his was thinking. And the disciple became really confused. And Srila Prabhupada kind of like gave him a hint that you should be very straightforward with your spiritual master. Another instance is when Srila Prabhupada was offered a watch, a wristwatch, by one of his disciples. And it was very, expensive wristwatch. And Srila Prabhupada had a wristwatch. So Srila Prabhupada took out his wristwatch, took on the new wristwatch, and immediately gave that wristwatch to the disciple, his old wristwatch. The disciple didn't say, why are you giving me your old? I'm giving you a new one. You should give me a new one. No. Disciples took it as Mahaprasad because that is the beauty, that is the sweetness. That's a great blessing for us to get. Something from our elders, something from our spiritual masters, something from our mentors, from coaches. So again, this is a great benediction. And so now when we go, we see that devotees, they bring Srila Prabhupada's shoes for everyone to get blessings from. We get opportunities to touch Srila Prabhupada's shoes, his clothes, various objects that he used for worship. And that is so sweet, that is so enlivening, that shows us the presence. So Uddhava did not want to feel absence of Krishna. So he would dress like Krishna, and from a distance he would look like Krishna. People would get confused. Even the gopis thought, is that Krishna? But then they looked at his features and paid attention. Yes, he looks like Krishna. His features are also like Krishna. He's dressed like Krishna, yet he is a great devotee of Krishna. They could make that distinction just from the looks, without having even hearing him once. So my dear devotees, this Uddhava was so absorbed that he was absorbed in dressing, feeding, and serving Krishna, so he would ignore his mother's request. So seeing Krishna as a spiritual son is very important because the comparison of Krishna as the son is very appropriate, as Srila Prabhupada states in the purport. And we all see from Chaitanya Charitamrita, Krishna Surya Sama Maya hai andhakara, jahan Krishna taha nahi mayara adhikara. Krishna is like the sun. So in the presence of sun, the presence of light, there cannot be darkness. So that is also very important. That Krishna is compared to sun and Maya is darkness. And we have to always remember that the heart of a devotee is always bright when Krishna is present and the meditation is on Krishna. And it's filled with darkness, with all bad qualities, kam, krodh, lobh, moh, mad, matsara, lust, anger, greed, pride, envy, arrogance, and again, delusion. All these 6 bad qualities of like snakes that engulf the heart into darkness and causes. And what's the real cause? It's very interesting. There's 6 qualities. They start with lust but end with envy. Lust relates to what I have. So people are lusty in acquiring things. And that's related to the body. But then envy is appearing last, but is because of the envy with Krishna. This material body we have received is the result of that. We have to understand that envy is very dangerous. It's a very bad quality. We should never compare, criticize, or complain in our lives. So those 3 C's, my dear devotees, We must avoid at all cost and understand that Jivera Swarupaya Krishnera Nityadas, we are eternal servant of Krishna. And Uddhava is teaching us what kind of servant we can be. And it's not that the devotees don't feel external difficulty. It's not that everything is, hokey dokey, everything is wonderful in a devotee's life. Externally, it may be, yes. But internally, the devotee is completely dedicated. So they may show symptoms, like Uddhav himself is showing those 8 symptoms of ecstasy. The hair is standing on his hands, the body is experiencing, vibrations, and the voice is choking up, his eyes are weeping, he himself is weeping. We see that Arjuna also wept when he was at the battlefield. And prior to that, the Pandavas, they faced exile. Injustice happened to them. There was a war and a lot of bereavement. So light does not mean absence of every difficulty. Light means that we can see the difficulty properly, in proper perspective. That is very important for us to understand. And without Krishna consciousness, suffering may appear meaningless. So Krishna is not illuminated by sun. So Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita that my abode is not lighted by sun or pavaka, refers to fire, which is in this modern term is referred to as electricity. Na tad bhayate surya na shashanko na pavakaha yad gatva na nivartante tad dhama paramam mama. Lord Krishna reveals in Bhagavad Gita that my abode is not illuminated by Surya, Shankha, or Pavaka, sun, moon, or electricity. Electricity in this case is reflection, means again coming from fire perspective. And fire has 2 perspectives. One is warmth and another one is light. Light is what is the focus here. And one who reaches the supreme abode does not come back in this material world. So from that perspective, we can see that Krishna is not illuminated by the sun, but rather he is the cause of illumination of the universe. Everything that is illuminated in this world is coming from the effulgence of Krishna. So when Uddhav is saying that our good fortune has gone, what does that mean? You have to also look at it from the perspective. Is he just being sentimentalist, or what does it mean when he says gata-śrīṣu, gṛheṣv, right? The good fortune of the houses have departed. The buildings were not their true glory, right? Krishna was their true glory. That is what is important. A house is made up of bricks and mortar and wood and so many other material objects. But it becomes home when the center is in Krishna and the family is focusing in devotional service. And we see in Kunkunti's prayers, she expressed the same truth. She tells Krishna that without his presence, the fame and the activities of the Pandavas and Yadus would end, just as the senses become useless without consciousness, right? A body may have eyes, but without consciousness, they cannot see. Body may have ears, but without consciousness, they cannot see. Now we have to also understand Krishna's transcendental sunset, that the sun has set. Well, Uddhav is saying that Krishna's sun has set is very appropriate because sun may be setting in one hemisphere, but it is reappearing in another hemisphere. So similarly, Krishna's pastime may end in this material world, but those pastimes are continuing. That's why we talk about Goloka Vrindavan, which is the spiritual abode, then we talk about Bhoma Vrindavan, which is in the material world. And Srila Prabhupada said that Vrindavan in India and on this planet Earth, we are very lucky that he enacted his Vrindavan pastimes on Earth, and that especially in India, so that people can visit. But the moment we are thinking of going to Vrindavan, the consciousness has to be proper. And that would make true Vrindavan sprout and enact in our heart as well. So here, as Krishna, and we talked about, absolute truth means that which does not change. If something changed, that means it's not absolute truth, which means Krishna has unlimited forms, identifying his various ages, and those forms are carrying out their activities. Just like from the perspective when after Damodar Leela was enacted, Lord Krishna was bound by Mother Yashoda, and then he used Urkula to, the grinding mortar, to bring down the two trees, Arjun trees, and Nal Kuvera and Manigriva, they went back to their previous position. Hearing the tumultuous sound of these trees crashing, Nand Baba and the cowherdman, they came and they said that this place has become very dangerous. And at that time, Upananda said that let us all go to Vrindavan. This place is very dangerous. There's so many demons appearing, Putana, Trinavarta, Shaktasur. So let's just go. And now these trees, Kanha, Lala, could get impacted, could be hurt in this environment. From that perspective, if it appears like they have moved to Vrindavan in a very nice, beautiful setting, that journey has been described. Yet does that mean that Lord Krishna's pastime when he was performing Damodar Leela has finished? No, he's performing that Leela in another universe. And one day of Brahma, Lord Krishna appears once. And he's got 100 years. And those 100 years have 12 months. And those 12 months, each month has 30 days. So we can see in 4.3 billion years, earthly years, is one day of Brahma, where there are 1,000 Chaturyugas are happening. And in that, right around the noon time of his day, Lord Brahma's day, Lord Krishna is appearing. So it may appear to us, but that's a reflection of the Golok Vrindavan pastimes of that particular form of Lord, and his interaction with his devotees is what we see. So sun rising and setting may appear like the sun is born and the sun has died, but that's not true. In the Western world, when Bhagavatam was being discussed and revealing these truths, the Western world was at that time, centered around as the sun rising and dying every day. So again, our appearance in this world results from material birth. But Lord Krishna is unborn. So the unborn is born because he appears just like sun. And our body develops, it grows, and it produces, some byproducts like children and so forth. It sustains for some time, becomes disease, jara, and then finally it ceases functioning. But Lord Krishna's body is not like that. He appears by his own internal potency. And he does not accept a material body imposed upon him by karma, by the material activities or by the various activities. He doesn't forget his previous activities. He reveals to Arjuna in the 4th chapter of Bhagavad Gita that Arjuna, I remember all the births, all the appearances of mine, and you were also present at that time, but you do not remember about your past or your previous births, which actually is a boon, because if you were to remember our previous births, it would be very difficult for us to sustain ourselves. And then why does Uddhava grieve? He knows that Krishna is eternal. Why is he crying? Because spiritual knowledge does not make the heart hard. Yes, it doesn't solidify. He knows that Krishna is eternal, but he's intensely feeling the separation from Krishna, so his visible company. So knowledge prevents his grief from becoming material hopelessness, but love makes that separation real. My dear devotees, that's why it is revealed. And the great snake of time is also visible, ajagara. Now, what's the significance of ajagara in this particular verse? When ajagara is engulfing another object, it does that very quietly. The object doesn't come to know how this all is happening. So, my dear devotees, this is how the night comes. Yet at the same time, we say in the first canto, the sages had asked Sutta Goswami, and Sutta Goswami had revealed. One of the 6 questions was that after Lord Krishna has departed from this material world, where has the dharma, the religion, taken shelter of? What shelter has dharma taken? So Sutta Goswami reveals that kṛṣṇa-dyumaṇi dhāma padyate dharma jnanadhi saha. Kala nashta dishame. Purana ko adunodhita, kala nashtam adunodhita. So again, like Lord Krishna has departed to his abode. He has moved on in his pastime in another universe. As the sun is arising in another universe, we can look at it from that perspective. With knowledge, religion, etc., all the great qualities. Then this Bhagavatam has appeared as the sun to ward off the darkness of this Kali age. My dear devotees, and what's the purpose centered around the presence of Bhagavatam? To take to the remembrance of Lord Krishna, to take to the chanting of the holy name. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Very emotional pastime that we discussed today, and how Uddhava is revealing his heart to Vidura. Kantra Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Over to you, Parikshit Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
Thank you
Krishna.
very much for a wonderful, in-depth, very well explained lecture. Dear devotees, this is the time, and we're close to the top of the hour, but definitely it's time to unmute yourself if you have questions. You can ask Prabhu for clarity. If you have comments that you want to make and take home that excited you while you were listening, and Srila Prabhupada's purport, as we talked about, Krishna's pastimes finishing somewhere, and then another one is beginning simultaneously in another universe. So Krishna is always active, even in the material world. We know he's always present in the spiritual world. So this is wonderful, wonderful, wonderful information to remind us about how exciting Krishna is. So dear devotees, please unmute yourself if you have a question. Any questions or comments? You can raise your electronic hand also, as I call it, if you want. Hare Krishna. My own comment about the way you talked about the light and darkness, and you gave the example of if the power goes out at night and how people react to it, in the different homes, and how people sometimes the first thing if they're home when the light goes out or the power goes out, is it my house only or is it the whole neighborhood? The whole neighborhood, oh yeah, it must be the powerhouse. They'll do something about it. If it's my house only, well, I better get an electrician because I have an issue like that, with very practical things that actually happen in our lives. I could tell one simple story about a light power going out. One time, we were getting angry, my wife and I. We didn't have any children at that time. We were serving Bhakti Swami. We were living in his residence and serving him. He had traveled, so it was just the two of us in the house. In the evening, the light went out. And the funny thing is, Nanda Rupa I get to you shortly, just to finish this. When the light went out, and of course, we are in the woods. Girinagri is, the woods. And it felt so peaceful. It's funny. It actually felt quite peaceful. The moon was out, so the moonlight was there. Yeah,
Yes.
so
Yes.
it made it very nice. We talked about Krishna, we talked about our spiritual master, we talked about. Then about an hour later, the light came back on. It's like more the passion came back. The light came back on. Actually, this is how it felt. How interesting that the natural way of things, the moon and like that showed a different type of feeling that we both got when we were talking about it in Girinagri. So Hare Krishna, Mataji, Ananda Mataji, please unmute yourself and go for
Hare
it.
Krishna, obeisances Prabhus. I wanted to just place a small request. Maybe Prabhuji, you can talk briefly about how devotees should avoid faking any such emotions or bodily symptoms, in public, like in a gathering. I don't know what may be the reason, but often, it is recommended that avoid displaying such symptoms showing how advanced you are and what is the harm. What is the harm in
Yes.
So basically,
Yes.
being how important it is to be genuine
Mhm.
and
Yes.
experiencing it within your heart. You know, someone, let us say, someone who is not very exposed or aware of these things may get very influenced or um, in their enthusiasm
Yes.
may start showing some bodily gestures, showing, how deeply absorbed they are when it is very apparent that's not the case. And so just little bit, if you have some thoughts, I think it will really help everyone.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Devi, for asking this question because in Bhagavad Gita, Srila Prabhupada identifies in purpose many times and extensively in Chaitanya Charitamrita that we have to really be genuine in our approach in Krishna consciousness. And those who try to make a show, they are referred to as Pakra Sahajiyas. They're taking this very casually. And they're saying, oh, I'm a gopi and I'm performing these activities, or I'm in separation with Krishna, or hey, if I cry in front of everyone, it will make me look like a very exalted devotee. And that is actually very harmful. Why? Because when you're cheating, always remember who's cheater number one? Lord Krishna. You cannot cheat Krishna. And he becomes really upset when we try to show others what we are, like trying to make a show of things that we are not. And instead of taking shelter of Krishna and his devotees, we try to satisfy, that's hetuki, right? When we have material motivation and when engaged in devotional service. And that is very detrimental to our devotion. The six kind of exchanges, again, activities, Atyahara, Prayasha, Prajalpa, Niyamagraha, Jana Sangasha, Lolyam cha, Sadvir Bhakti Vinashyati. So there are six things that can cause vinash, destruction of our devotional service. While devotional service is so precious that it can deliver us from the greatest danger of this material world. But if not being conscious and mindful in our activities, it can destroy, which is atyahara. Atyahara refers to eating too much than necessary. And sometimes people, they eat too much saying that, oh, I'm like Agastya Muni's disciple, or I'm a Madhu Mangal's disciple, those kind of examples. So I'm Bajrang Bali's disciple, so I must eat a lot. No, that's not the right attitude. Prayasas, they engage in over endeavor beyond the need of the, beyond the capability of the body. And Atyahara also refers to previous one, to collecting too many things that are unnecessary. That's also Atyahara. So it destroys devotional service. And too much endeavor in material activities also destroys material service. And we also see that we have to please Guru and Krishna when we are carrying out our activities. Atyahara prayasasha prajalpo niyamagra. Prajalpa means gossip. Talking about, we may look at this particular pastime where Uddhava and Vidura, they are discussing about Krishna and various relatives. It may just look like a materialist person that this is a common discussion about the family members, but no, it's actually much deeper. It's about the Krishna's sunset. While he's considering other universes, what is the separation, the vipralambha bhav that they are feeling in their heart and how their emotions are going out of control? It's a very emotional moment for both of them to be discussing this, and highly spiritually enlivening because this is the bhav that the gopis carried in Vrindavan. From that perspective, we can see. And Niyama Agraha has two meanings, as Rupa Goswami identifies. Niyama Agraha, which is rejecting of rituals. Why do I have to do this ritual? It's bad. In today's Gen Z and millennials, we see that they don't want to perform any rituals. So that's also destruction to devotional service. And Niyama Agraha. Agraha is too much attachment to ritual service, ritual activities, without understanding the essence behind them. Yes, rituals on their own are not bad, but when they are missing the spirit, then they become impediment in our life and can cause destruction. So it's spiritual is spirit plus ritual. Ritual refers to the practice of devotional service, the processes. So we have to take things that, yes, this Srimad Bhagavatam is the great sun in the absence of Krishna. It's literally incarnation of Krishna, which is non-different from Krishna. The chanting of the holy name, non-different from Krishna. And then janasangascha lolyamcha. So those fifth and sixth qualities that destroy devotional services, association with the materialistic minded people, that also influences. We should give them our association. We should give them Krishna. We should do Krishna Katha with them, but not take their association. That's also very important. And lolyam, greed, material greed, the lust it's referring to, is also very harmful. And this lust can manifest in various forms. One of the subtle forms is to seek name, fame, and glories. And that is very harmful by the devotees to take to. Hare Krishna, hopefully this answers the question.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. So I hope this answered your question.
Yes, Hare Krishna. Thank you, thank you. Hare Krishna.
Jai. Any other questions or comments? If not, then thank you, Prabhu, for giving such a wonderful, wonderful, sweet class about Krishna and Krishna's devotees. So many points that you touched on, devotees. If we didn't grasp all of it, there's a YouTube recording of it. You certainly can go back and hear it again later on in the day. Have a wonderful week for your Krishna consciousness. That's the main thing that we do. Everything else is secondary. Jai. Vanchakalpatarubhyasya kripa sindhave eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Śrī Uddhava ki jai. Again, thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare
Thank you,
Krishna.
Buddhists.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you for the question. Hare Krishna.